Welcome everybody to our what's today's date? June 8th, 2026 meeting of the Milton Community Preservation Committee. Thank you. Be a long meeting if I start forgetting. So calling to order at 7:03 p.m. And let's first of all welcome our newest member, Hal Munger, who is representing the planning board. Welcome, Hal.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And want to thank Cheryl Tagayas publicly for her several years of service on the Community Preservation Committee. She will be missed, but we know she's not too far away if we need her advice in consultation. So thank you, Cheryl, for that. So let's do a formal roll call. My name is Tom Callahan. I'm the chair of the Community Preservation Committee and representing the Affordable Housing Trust.
Jenny Russell, vice chair and citizen representative.
Hi, I'm Wendy Garpo. I'm the representative for the Conservation Commission.
Hal Munger, representing the planning board.
Steve O'Donnell, chair of the Historical Commission.
And Robbie?
Robert Powers for the Housing Authority.
Great. All right. And we know Kathleen and Rob Lavash have other commitments tonight, so they will not be here, but they're going to watch the tape and catch up with us at the next meeting. So, all right. Approval of the April 6th, 2026 minutes. Jenny was again kind enough to put those together. They went out, I guess, in an email from me and Jenny late this afternoon. So I don't know if people have comments or edits or.
The only thing I realized is that I listed myself as co-chair, it should be vice chair.
You gave yourself a promotion.
I did. I did. That was a mistake.
And in the original one, Nick Milano, there was a typo in Nick Milano's name. It was E instead of I.
Thank you.
So I made the change on the one I sent out.
Oh, good.
I think I did. But so that's just, it was in that first.
The thing that's
No, I don't know where it is, but it's in the text of.
I'll get it.
But
Oh, here it is. M.I. Oh, it should be
MI.
M.I. So
Yeah.
this is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you print out the one I sent?
And if you corrected it from the Google Doc,
Yeah.
yeah, then it's corrected.
Okay. So any comments? Do I hear a motion to approve minutes?
So
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's say ball tapping in the top of your head. So we have a motion and a second, and it needs to take a roll call vote. All in favor, Jenny?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Al, you will abstain now? Okay.
Yes.
Steve, yes. Rob?
Yes.
Robert? And Tom, yes. All right, so we pass that unanimously, with one abstention. All right, update on the CPC administrative position in scheduling of interviews. So even the text of that agenda item indicates that we have made some progress. So we have two, the last I know, and Jenny, I think we've heard directly from Nick on this, we have two applications in for an administrative assistant, which obviously has been long overdue. So that's good news. We have not interviewed the person yet. I think Nick is hopeful that we will be able to interview, somebody from the committee will be able to interview with the HR, the director of HR. He wants involved, obviously. So that's kind of the update on there. I've been traveling last week, so I wasn't able to get to it. So my intention is to try to get that on the schedule for later this week or early next week and get those interviews done.
So Tom, and you said with the HR positions, that mean and us and
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone on the committee would like to, join me, I mean, I'm prepared to do it, but also we
Yeah,
wanna have,
I would too.
Jenny,
Yeah.
okay? And if anybody else wants to join in on those interviews, I think just let me know and we can.
Just
Hal,
part-time?
Hal, for your benefit, and for the public's benefit, we, for most of the, I guess we've been up and running for 4 years now, a little over 4 years. For most of that time, we benefited from, some support from, an administrative assistant within the planning department. That person is no longer, working for the town, and therefore that arrangement was basically through the town. So we, and that position's been open at the planning board for a while. Coming from the planning board, you kind of know this. So we kind of took some action to try to, post a job independent of whoever the planning board might hire for that position, not knowing, because this was always extra work for a part-time position at the planning board. So depending on who is in that position, they may or may not want that extra work, and extra compensation for that. So we kind of started on this path of hiring somebody, independent.
Okay.
And it would be, pretty minimal hours over a course of a year, but, we spent about $7,000 of our administrative budget on staff support. We've definitely felt the absence. Jenny has done unbelievable, filling in, for that. But I think as the CPA program matures, as we fund more projects, as there's more follow-up with projects that were funded a year or 2 or 3 ago to see how they're doing. Possibility of taking back funds from projects that haven't gone forward. I mean, there's lots of moving parts to it as we mature as a committee. And I think that staff support, not to mention publicity and promoting some of the funded projects that have moved forward and all that type of stuff that we could use. So
Preparation for town meeting.
Preparation for town meeting, preparation for these meetings.
Articles.
So taking minutes. So that's.
Just a handful of hours each week, kind of.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be steady every single week, but I think, what did we estimate in the job description?
It's okay.
We can share the job
Yeah,
description with
great.
you, because it put a rough estimate of hours.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was on a per month basis or how we divided it, but yeah. Okay, any discussion on that? But hopefully one of these 2 candidates will be.
So the idea is to keep it open until it's filled. There's not a deadline on
I
it,
think
so
so,
if you
yeah.
have anybody that.
Right,
Not to recommend.
right.
So
Okay.
through the town.
Okay.
Yeah, the job description is on the town website, council website. All right, any other discussion on this?
Yep.
Okay, next item is a report on the town meeting CPC articles, so can't remember the numbers, articles 32, 33, and 34, maybe?
Mhm.
Is that right?
That's not, it's 30 something. Yeah.
That was approximate, numbers, so the first 2 articles, one was setting our budget for next year. The second article was voting on our recommendations from our past year of deliberation. So those 2 articles passed almost unanimously, just like they have in past years. There was, matter of fact, initially the moderator took both of those articles and put them in the consent agenda, which would have meant no separate debates or vote on the CPA article. So we took them, Rob and others raised their hands when there was an opportunity to take them out of the consent agenda, or take at least the recommendation article out of the consent agenda. I think we have talked as a committee in the past that we want to continue to do that, to use it as a publicity opportunity. and just to continue, it's taxpayer money that it's going into this, we continue to want to be transparent about where that money is going and gives us an opportunity to do that. So I made a short presentation about some of the funded projects that were coming out, and again, the vote was overwhelming, I think, with, I don't know, less than 5 dissents, basically, in both cases. So the Article 34 was more contentious, although I think obviously ultimately successful. So that was our first bonding article. It was the Wharf Park project. It featured both a presentation from me and a presentation from Scott McKay, the Friends of the Milton Farmers Market group. It's our first bonding article. It needed 2/3 vote. It did get about 73% of the vote. So somewhat narrowly, but still passed with some small margin to spare. Triggered I think a reasonably healthy debate about questions about how much debt service was going to go to, and would there be enough money to fund other projects going in the future? There was some critique of the project being, I thought CPA was to fund small projects, not large projects. So there was some healthy questioning of this was the first time we're doing this, and some extended, debate about that, but it ultimately resulted in 73 or 72% of the town meeting voting for it. So I thought that was obviously a good outcome. So
more than anything, it seemed like it was a good exercise and learning for us or you in terms of preparation of how to present bonds or other things that are new to the.
And I think, I would do a few things differently. We kind of back-ended, so Scott presented at the end instead of at the beginning. That there was a number, as he said that night, he had been under the weather all week, and it wasn't even clear he was going to be able to come that night. So there were some things that we probably would do a little differently. But it was, I think given that we're going to have future bonding articles, possibly as early as in a few months, I think it was a good test run to take the temperature of town meeting and also, get our sea legs under us from a bonding perspective. Let me open it up and other comments about town meeting. A number of us were there or probably have seen it, but.
Just to echo the learning curve with the presentation, right? I think that I mentioned when Scott started showing, or you guys started showing the images of what you guys were proposing, I think that made it helpful.
Yeah.
And so whether it's the that park or whatever comes on the road you guys are referring to right there with the bonding the teacher, maybe existing photos, like kind of describing why. Like firsthand accounts, I know Scott Gilpin did that as the farmers market, but like firsthand account in terms of what the reason why that's really important, like firsthand accounts right outside of this kind of group, and then the proposed images were.
And Scott did a great job once he really and the design is an impressive park. So good. Other comments?
Thank you for the work you put into it. For preparing it, taking the brunt of the questions.
All right, so we are ready for getting into this year's eligibility application. So as I said in an email, but I haven't said in a public meeting, so we have been we've been trying to think of the word I want to use, not overwhelmed with applicants, but we have been really pleased with. We have the record number of applications, 22 separate applications, and for a record amount of money, a total of about approximately $6 million. So some of the outreach work that I think members of the committee, others have done, some of the consistent appearing before town meeting, I think is paying off. And also just the passage of time. I think people in town are getting more and more, oh yeah, we do have a community preservation act, and we should think about how we could deploy that money. So I think it's a really good thing. We obviously still only have $1.1 million to give out, so that's going to be our challenge as a committee. This may be one of our, if not our most challenging year, given some of the applications and very strong applications we have in front of us. So with no further ado, let's get into the first of the 22. And we have Marika and Hanley from the Tucker PTO, and the first application is on the Tucker Playground. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend your spring fling, but I heard that was very successful.
Very successful, a very fun night.
Great. I now have to find your email to pull up.
I concur.
Yeah, Hal's
Sorry.
presence is enough for the whole committee.
So I need Sharon. This part I didn't figure out. Let's see if this works. I'm an analyst. I shouldn't share something that's first one. We will get there. He says confidently. Can I make it full screen? Yes.
You can last through the way.
I don't know where, view only maybe?
Yeah, that might work.
No,
No,
no.
go back to where we were and go fit.
It's fine, it's fine, yeah.
We can.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah. We were here last year, and so we went through the goals of the project at that time and kind of the background, so we're happy to do that again. For the benefit.
Yourself, I know, I sort of said.
Haley Byron from the co-president of the Tucker PTO.
Yeah, and Marika Goldman Silva, also the president of the Tucker.
And we're here with an application for construction funding for the Tucker Playground project. This is our second time before the committee. Last year, we were here looking for design funding, which we provided, and we have just about completed that phase of the project. So we can go back and talk about the project goals from the very beginning, or if that would be useful for some of the members, or we can jump to kind of the construction where we're at right now.
What would the,
I just have a quick,
Yeah.
just comment, were there any surprises in that design phase? What came up that you didn't anticipate, anything?
So, with the money that we got from the CPC, we were able to hire landscape architects at KZLA. And we went through a process of meeting with them over a series of months, and they just completed the first set of renderings, and now they're gonna start working on the construction documents, which will happen over the summer. And I don't know that there were any surprises.
I think we can go through the
Yeah.
slides too. Like we can just skip through the beginning of project goals and kind of the condition of the playground, why it's so important. Kids are continuously getting injured on the playground and change. But if you,
Yeah, that's what it looks like right now.
and so I think
That's one of the-
you can keep going. Sorry.
So the project timeline, kind of, we completed the early planning. We're at the tail end of the design and construction preparation. And what we're kind of seeking support for now is phase 3, which is construction.
And with the goal, so we're finalizing, kind of going into the construction, phase of, or creating the designs that will be construction ready, and then with the goal of doing construction summer 2027. And so you can just
Just looking.
go throughout the
Yeah.
phase one was like the mural going up and creating the committee. There was a site survey that was done. We got brainstorming ideas, surveys to the staff.
Mural.
Which I
Mural's good.
I love.
Yeah.
It's cool. And phase two was, I guess we can go through phase two, because this is, we haven't seen you since then.
Yep,
Yeah.
Since
yep,
phase two.
yep.
Do you
Yeah, so we interviewed 4 different design firms. We went with KZLA, we had an interview team that scored each candidate or group based on a number of kind of rubrics we come up with. And went with KZLA, they're the design firm that does a majority of playgrounds. They also are doing stuff in the area. We're really excited to work and like be creative with the staff and kids. And one of my most favorite things is like just getting the community involved and how their ideas on how to do that, incorporating like some of their past projects have like kids artwork engraved into stonework and things like that. So we were really excited about going with KCLA.
The next slide.
Yeah, you can see some other playgrounds, KCLA, the stonework is like my most favorite thing, I'm highlighting it here.
The next one.
But they quickly jumped into doing an online survey that went out to the Tucker community, and then we tried to do outreach to like the broader community. West Milton Neighborhood Association shared it, Connect Milton, Milton Public Schools. I'm trying to think of, we tried to target to get just the broader community feedback and creating a space that's not just for our kids, but also for the neighborhoods around it. I think our big concern is also that West Milton, this area doesn't have community gathering spaces. So with doing this, we really want it to be a space that's for everyone.
So with that feedback, they came up with, next slide, please, some preliminary concepts. And so the A, B, and C, and then we took those and at a public event in April, we invited the community at large and also the Tucker families to come and give their feedback on these preliminary concepts. And the next slide, please. Shows kind of some of the responses we got, kids, and there were a lot of stickers involved because we were getting feedback from kids. So they would they'd get a lot of stations that were like this or that, and the kids would kind of vote, and parents would vote. And we had a lot of written feedback, and that was the way that KZLA heard from the kids.
Yeah.
They
They
filled out
also-
worksheets
Yeah.
in school, they filled out little packets, and all of that was scanned and sent back to the architects to incorporate and go from the early concepts to the next slide, which is the rendering of the playground, what they would build construction designs off of.
So you guys got a bunch of ideas for the survey and outreach to narrow down a few options, and then from those few options, you kind of narrow
Merge
down
the
to criteria.
two.
Merge for A and B is
Yeah.
really what it came
Yeah.
down to. A and B, people liked the natural look and feel of A, but they wanted the fields and the court from B. And so it was taking that natural, how do we take the court and the field from B that everybody agreed they wanted and get a feel of A? And so the renderings that are the next slides will kind of show you what it will feel like, or more what it will feel like. That is a good, sort of a good, it's natural, but you get the court, you get the fields.
So the multicolored part is the court?
Is the
Yeah.
court,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, and
I think it's creating, there's multiple, we'll go into detail on all the different areas, but just giving diverse options of play and, I think there's different uses for the community too that can gather. Our hope is that maybe different sports teams will wanna come over and utilize this space.
yeah, I mean, the lack of field space is not a secret in Milton. So if we had something like this at Tucker, our hope is that all of a sudden an area that not a lot of people go unless you live in the surrounding communities, that you come and that's a draw, and then that helps sort of get people over to that part of town, and then maybe, you know, you want to have something else going up in that area. I mean, development of West Milton is a huge topic, particularly in West Milton. And if there's a really attractive playground that the rest of town wants to come to, I can only see a benefit for that whole surrounding area. It's also the only recreational space that exists for all of those surrounding neighborhoods, which is a massive amount of families who use this at night on the weekends. And if there's this type of quality field and play space, servicing those families, that's a huge win for that community.
So, yeah,
So you can kind of go through the
Yeah, the
rest and
different-
shows you different parts of the
Yes.
playground.
we're still working on the specific play structures, but the
It won't
goal
be
is to
that.
have multiple options. This is one of the members on our design team is our gym teacher, and so really thinking about, right now, our kids can't have recess and a gym at the same time, which all the other schools are able to do, and so really, they're kind of creating spaces that they think can accommodate both options, both activities at once.
That is the outdoor classroom, which is used year round, maintained by our third grade teacher and the pre-K teacher, and also used by Garden Club. And in connection with the rebuilding of that space, Food Services applied for a grant where we'll be able to grow a lot of food that is used in the Tucker cafeteria,
Yeah.
which is a very cool
Yeah.
process.
And she's even talking about maybe even creating more growing spaces to provide food for the district, which
So your project touches the Georgia Fire.
Yeah.
and
It
Food-
rebuilds,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
it looks nice already. I mean, just, yeah.
There's an
but-
area that has to be dug out,
Yeah.
because they like moved the fence, so we have to, and then we're moving the planters next to the building and putting in the tables that are out there, like from Amazon, and they
Yeah.
like falling
Adapt to
apart.
that.
So it'll be like more permanent, stronger outdoor tables, and there'll be a canopy, so it can be used all summer as well. So there's also a camp that's at Tucker also.
Yeah. And this is,
That is the rain garden.
yeah, so there's kind of a natural, like a nature nook, and then right behind it is the rain garden to help with,
It can be used for science, but it's also where all the drainage is, so it has
Yeah.
to stay there, and so we're trying to turn it into a feature, rather than being like, well, that's the drain
the
area.
edge of that is Oak Street? Or,
No,
No,
that's
that's-
the neighbor, that's their homes.
it's like the,
right,
if
I'm
you're
trying to place it.
if you're facing
Okay.
the back would be on your right,
On
where
your
like
right,
the soccer.
yeah,
yeah.
Garden helps the soccer.
That's the performance, the stage.
And we see this as like a place that the kids can use during their performances, but also maybe as a community gathering space for. Maybe there will be performances happening on weekends, that the community can enjoy too.
So should I go to the funding slide?
Yes.
So, the first part is what we've already funded in this project, which we've already seen. And then the breakdown is the construction costs that we foresee for this project, the total being $1.4 million project.
So 1.4, including the stuff that we've already.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we've already done, I think the remainder is 1.3 million.
Yeah.
And we can talk about kind of how we're getting to that point. Right now, Milton Foundation for Education just, gave us 30,000. Our goal was to raise 100,000 within our community. We actually just reached that goal, over last weekend.
Right.
We've been talking to the state and Representative Luker Reed, Representative Wells, and Senator Driscoll. We've worked hard and were able to get us 250,000 at the state level, which is great.
It's more than you were.
We
Wait,
thought it would be
We
100.
thought it was 150,
Yeah.
they didn't tell us that it might be
Oh,
250,
yeah, yeah.
so we got a phone call last
Yeah.
week and
Oh, wow.
absolutely lost our minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
We did submit a grant that Ayanna Presley chose, and is now in the appropriation committee's review. I think it's gone to the floor for 450,000.
We've watched that move through and are,
We're
it's
watching
moving.
closely, but
So-
it is moving. We don't know, I mean, I think we have
We'll
other.
see, but it actually, the farther it goes, the more hope we have.
We are asking for 300,000 through CPC today. And then the remainder 200,000, we're applying for additional grants and foundation use and then businesses.
That's our path to 1.4 million, which is a winding path, but one that actually has so far borne some fruit, so we're sticking with it.
I think the one surprise, or not surprise, we did find out that we have to go through the town to which increased the cost of the project significantly too, to go out to public bid. And so we've been working with the town on creating kind of a pathway to get us to building July 2027.
The town has also taken, the new director of consolidated facilities has also started to join our design meetings, and we're giving updates to members of the school committee, and we've been in touch with Nick Milano, we've met with members of the select board, where the town has been more involved in the project, as it actually seems like it, it's happening. So that they'll be ready to take it over. We're not looking to supervise the construction of this project. But so there is town involvement and support and getting more as we go along in this project.
And so the timeline the town came up with us to keep on track for summer is, we have to finish our fundraising and we have to raise all our money by the fall. And then they'll go out for an RFP in November. And then there will be contractors selected in December, January, and move forward from there.
This is an ambitious timeline from the beginning, but so far we've hit every single milestone that we set for ourselves, and the 100,000 from the community was a really big ask since as long as I've been at Tucker, we hadn't raised our operating budget for the PTO. This year, we raised our operating budget of $47,000 and raised $100,000 for the playground. So that was,
That's great.
I think it was a huge success and shows the level of support that we have in that community for this project, that they did both of those things in 1 year, which is a major achievement.
Yeah.
For the whole community.
I think last year, I think our budget was about 35,000 is what we were able to bring in, so comparison.
So those funds are being held by the town,
Say that.
All the funds that we've raised are held by the PTO.
by the PTO?
So because it's a public process, you need to be able to show that you have full
Yes.
contributions or whatever, donations to be able to then put out the bid.
Right.
So if, I know you're not going to, but if you miss this fall deadline, that means it needs to wait until next fall to happen.
We lose a
The
whole year,
right?
which time you don't really have.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, you've seen the caution tape, there's whole structures that can't be used,
Right.
it's just.
And our kids are getting hurt, and I think people have asked, it would be easier if you slowed down, but our kids are not really willing to let our kids continue.
Also, we haven't needed to so far, and I think that just speaks to the urgency of the situation. I mean, you have a community, it's a Title I school, and yet they've donated $150,000 this year. So, because they want this project.
So in terms of the 300,000 still outstanding for private and grant funding, can you describe more about what the status is of that in terms of?
200,
200,000.
Excuse me.
because they got extra state money, right?
No, no.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So,
Yeah, sorry, originally it was
You go back.
200.
Yep.
I mean, sorry, we did write 300, but then the
Oh.
state came through with another
Oh,
100.
yeah, sorry.
that happened, that happened.
And that was last week,
200,
so-
got
It's
it.
a good problem to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so now it's shrunk to 200,000.
Yeah.
So we have sent letters of intent, have applied to various grants, and kind of are talking with even more local grants, who it seems optimistic, but we're not. I don't think we have anything to say concretely about what we might be able to get from certain local foundations, but we have applied. And we're waiting to hear.
Can you say to whom?
So where do you want that message?
So I mean, it was, I think was it the, I'm trying,
I'm sorry.
Yes, we have
We have a long list.
uh,
I don't know the names off the top of my head. While she pulls that up, is there anything that I might be able, I know you guys are going on that, I might be able to answer.
Other questions from other members? So the key part of this, I know you said it, but I would just wanna, for the committee's benefit, what you're essentially asking us to do would be to bring this article before the October town meeting.
Yes,
Right, in order to fit in with that fundraising deadline.
correct.
Nick is, my understanding, Nick has said, right, you can't move forward unless you have all the funding committed.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so if
So a spring town meeting doesn't work. for
does
you.
not help us.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And is that the normal timeframe that this?
It is not, so that would be precedent setting.
Gotcha.
We have
Meaning this conversation we're having tonight in a non-urgent setting would have articles in the spring, not the fall.
Right, we've always brought
Right.
every funding article to the Springtown meeting. There's nothing in the state statute or in the local bylaws that prevents us from doing this, but it's just been our habit and tradition. Now we're already anticipating breaking that tradition for the fire station building committee. We obviously we have an application from them. We haven't seen them yet in person. This is the first night of doing this, so but they are gonna be, they anticipate going to the ballot in November, and they would like a CPA designation, appropriation or commitment, I should say, before voters vote on it, which is, reasonable. So,
And
yeah.
Nick had exchanged some emails with us before coming here. I think, anticipated answering questions on this very thing and like
Yeah.
exactly what we would.
He will be in
What
front
we
of
would
us, 'cause,
need, yeah.
there's several
And he said
projects.
that he was happy to speak on that.
Yeah.
In terms of, we are applying to Copeland's, just in terms to answer your original question, and there's about, it doesn't look like it's loading, there's about 7 others.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is not,
And we
we're not
have
trying to
done,
hide. it's
You
just-
can send it
I
to
mean,
us
we've
later.
done broader business outreach too. We just really ordered the data.
We just got one from Debt Savings Bank,
saving for
So
five
there's-
thousand.
right, a smaller check, we got, a check from a development company that wants to remain anonymous, as part of our broader business outreach, but in terms of the grants, I will send you a list of the
Yeah.
applications that have gone out, that's just not loading, and that we're submitting an application to Copeland as well.
All right, are there any other questions? I don't want to get too far, we are already a little behind, so I don't want to get too far, no, it's quite all right. So if no other questions, obviously we'll be discussing this in the next few weeks. Just for everybody's benefit, we are meeting tonight on June 22nd, on July 6th, and potentially then again on July 20. Thank you. For this portion of the eligibility applications and evaluating them, and then at that point, by July 20th, we would be in a position to vote on which projects we're recommending move forward. So we won't make any decisions tonight or in the next couple meetings, but by the July 20th, we will be in that position.
And I'm sure there are conversations having between this group, your group, and Nick Milano in terms of how to get that on the town meeting.
Yeah, Nick is the sponsor of several
Yeah.
applications, not just, they've obviously been supportive of the Tucker project, and there's a couple other projects. So Nick will be coming in one of the next 2 meetings in front of us to talk about several different projects, including the Tucker project.
And it's been the timing of, then from the planning board, we were told it's basically the end of June, the articles have been submitted. For town, for fall.
No, we have not, because we have not been told that.
Okay.
The end of June
Yeah.
for an October time,
May.
yes.
Now,
Is
late,
when,
late June, early July perhaps,
Yeah.
but it was
Okay.
soon. So just keep that in mind.
that's
Okay,
what,
I will, I have not,
And I
I was
think
not aware.
we can keep moving forward through the warrant committee in hopes of,
Yeah.
for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Earl Fay, Milton Housing Authority.
It's not as fun as a playground.
All projects have their merits.
I don't know, it's been fun. At least 10 years since my kids were on the Temple playground. That's it. So I'm Earl Fay,
Wendy, we have to leave that open. We have to, for public meeting purposes, that door has to be open. Sorry, to be a stickler, but no behind closed door meetings. Open meeting law. Okay, Earl, welcome, welcome.
So I'm Earl Fay, I'm the executive director of the Milton Housing Authority, and I'm also a resident at 45 and Upwards Road here in Milton. So the Housing Authority has buildings at 65 Miller Ave, most folks don't even know we're there. And we house in that area 39 units of elderly and disabled. Those buildings were built in 1985, and the envelope of those buildings really hasn't been touched in the over 40 years, other than, you know, as needed repairs here and there. So the envelope is starting to fail. And it's critical for us to proactively move forward on a replacement of the entire. It should be the doors, sidings, and windows. And a year ago, I thought we were in good shape with clean funding for windows. And that was actually pulled away from us. As HLC said, well, no, we're beyond the natural life of the siding. And so they couldn't possibly approve windows for such a project. Really want it all to come together in a comprehensive manner so that it all fits as it ought to fit. From an energy standpoint, tightness of weatherization and so on. So over the last year or so, I've had conversations with HLC is that how do we make such a project happen? If you don't know EOHLC, so Executive Office Housing Livable Communities. How do we make such a project happen when the Housing Authority receives about $150,000 a year for capital projects, which is impossible with our, you know, we have 2-family homes here in Milton that are 100 years old. And so they take in a lot of our resources. We need to have some funding basically set aside for the emergency situations. We have a broken pipe underneath the slab of one of our buildings, and that's kept 2 units off for coming up on over a year and a half. And we are anticipating that sort of problem with the aging of the family. And so, as I said, not nearly as fun as a playground, but critically important. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see this project.
The other slide?
Well, either one.
Okay.
So this is fine. What's important about this particular project is, you know, this project would have the benefit of 39 units of housing. Of folks who live there with under $19,000 a year of income on average. And when we think of where we're talking about with affordable housing being in that, you know, 80% number of, you know, we're talking about single family, you know, income of approaching $100,000, in many cases still qualifying for affordables. And here we have people living with under $19,000 on average. And it's a diverse community. 37% of those residents are minority in Milton. And so it's serving a very significant population for the town. Our initial conversation was that the hard cost would be in the vicinity of $1.5 million, but after hard costs, and then with the soft costs and so on, and as that's expanding, a more detailed quote that I had sent over puts that project at about $2.2 million at this moment. So going HLC, the only way to really fund something along at this magnitude is to be asking for local resources. And HLC strongly encourages housing authorities to go for CPA funding. And they suggest that as their primary source of funding for this nature, primarily because they will assist with the HILAT funds. So there's leverage dollars available that would be $2.50 for every dollar spent. So, you know, a $200,000 award from CPA money could yield an additional $500,000 of leverage funding through the state. We are talking to other folks, as Tom knows, with the Affordable Housing Trust. I certainly don't know at this point where that will be heading. I have a good feeling about it, but at what amount, I don't know. And as you folks were just discussing, awards would come out, perhaps announced in the fall or the spring, although perhaps it's complicated a little bit, with, I don't know how that will work in terms of awarding some funds up front and maybe some funds later. I don't know, what that would look like here. Obviously, our concern would be, are we gonna fall short? With other funding? Yes, we could potentially cover it with certain capital funding from the housing authority. That would take away from other potential priorities, particularly the two-family homes, the group homes and so on. There's other dollars we could be approaching the state for, sustainability funding. Sustainability funds may help with the HVAC's concerns that I'm not sure that CPA funding would be used for, but there's certainly tremendous need. That's where we stand now. It's in its infancy. If we're able to move forward on such a project, it would allow us to reconsider other aspects. The community room being used as a real resiliency center is something down the road I would like to see with, but it also with this kind of.
Earl, how many of the units are vacant right now?
Right now, in total, we have two that's really up in the air, although one I believe will come online fairly quickly once that pipe is repaired. And we're now getting close to repair. And so there's two that are held up with that, and there are two being turned over now that should be available and occupied no later than August 1.
That's just normal, those other two are normal transitions.
Correct. So each year there might be 2 to 4 normal transitions, fortunately, one of those, somebody passed away. And that obviously frees up the space. Someone else has gone into nursing home care, no longer stay. So those are the sorts of matters that come up that people move along. So that's more typical of a turnover. One of the units that we are turning over did take a little longer as we get into it and find that there's water damage from the window, for example. And those, again, the windows that are over 40 years old. Clearly, the energy efficiency would be helpful. I'm expecting another unit we are about to jump on here, which will be vacant as of July 1. And again, there's water damage. And that will slow down the turnover of that unit for water damage. The very limited funds to turn around, we have what the equivalent of one full-time maintenance person at the housing authority, such as two part-time positions, which equals about one time, and we can get a little more hours. But turning over units is very limited turnover money specifically for that. So as it becomes more and more complicated, particularly with water damage, as we're seeing now, and not only is it dollars being spent, but it's time that units are offline. And that's the growing concern. Almost more than anything is the time it takes to turn a unit over. You have these lists that are in thousands of names with people trying to get into housing, and keeping a unit offline too long is as problematic potentially as how to fund it.
So you've estimated overall as 2.2, you're asking for 200, which you think translates into 500, more or less.
Hopefully, yes.
So that's about 700,000. That's, how do you anticipate potentially making up the difference? Will you attack this piecemeal? Like, will you do some things with this? If you were to be able to get the 200, what would you attack first?
So we are, we feel confident in some amount of an award from the Affordable Housing Trust, which would also be leveraged. And that would allow us to get the ball rolling. That would allow us that initial, if I can get a board approved vote from a body such as the Affordable Housing Trust as a starting point, then I can continue this conversation with it's Avalon McLaren. He's the director of project management at HLC. And that would allow them to put a house doctor in place to start really running the project and getting more refined numbers than what I put in front of you, which is sort of the first line at HLC to put those numbers together. So once we get that moving, if we fall short, I would do the entire envelope of one building at a time, if need be. We wouldn't do all siding and then all windows. We would do the entire envelope of each building if need be.
It would be more efficient if you could get all the money and do it all, yeah.
Clearly, if you don't know where construction costs are going and so on, that absolutely, if you did one building now and another building in 2 years, it could be radically different, right, in terms of costs.
And are residents able to stay in the units while this work would be going on?
We believe they will. We believe they will be able to stay housed during that time. Yes,
So typically, where would you get these kind of funds in the past for maintenance?
we never have, to be honest with you. We've never gone after a big ask before.
That's why siding's 40 years old, right?
That's why it needs all the work now.
Yeah, yeah, I've been with the Housing Authority for 2 years, and I know in the past, you know, we've used capital improvement dollars. For projects, most recently, we put a new fire panel into one of our group homes. You know, at around $50,000. We did a roll-in shower for another group home, so it could be roll-in for wheelchair at around $25,000. We repaved the road at Miller Ave, you know, for something in the vicinity of you know, $50,000. This pipe repair work's gonna approach $100,000. And although it's still an emergency, we couldn't get emergency funding. So we were able to get the project jump started, you know, and put onto the front end, but not additional, you know, funding. We have a project now, our 5 Tucker, that is vacant completely while we do some renovation work, and it's 2 bathrooms, but you know, we have aging structures where the plumbing is being repaired in there to replace everything going down, all the main drains and the bath. And they're into the project and said, you know, the stack has to be replaced also, wasn't anticipated. Chances are electrical will have to be, and not anticipated. There's floor rot in that building and not anticipated. I don't know if we'll be able to keep that building vacant. We know that the HLC does not want us to keep it vacant. But I suspect that building will take hundreds of thousands of dollars once they keep doing more and more and more. I think that was the building that they did some work and wondering what they smelled as they were doing some work several years ago to find that there was still gas lights. The gas lines in the walls were still active. That's just a few years ago. That's how old our offset is. This is a project that would allow 39 folks to stay housed, turn units over more quickly. Well, maybe we tackle the other ones, potentially. And of course, the other offsite units, as they can, you know, that's a loss of revenue to the housing authority. We want to turn these units over. We're trying to, you know, run a business on such a small income when you think of $19,000 per household, and you know, getting 30% of that as a rent as a landlord, that doesn't go very far. Pretty much impossible.
One other question.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So you've received money from the Affordable Housing Trust
We have
before?
not received money from
Ever?
not to my knowledge, no. I don't believe we've ever
Correct.
had.
Yeah, they've never applied
That's
in the past.
Okay.
No, I don't believe we've ever applied there or here. I think we've are asked to HLC funds, direct funds of various natures.
Okay, good, thanks.
And I did have a conversation with Earl, and he, you know, I let him know that the history of, again, tradition and history of this committee has been to defer all housing applications to the Affordable Housing Trust. So we have not funded a housing project directly in our 4-year history. Again, that's a decision we've made. It's a decision we could change, but it is not. Then, you know, we felt like we have the Affordable Housing Trust. They're the housing experts. Earl did come before the Housing Trust last couple weeks ago, and Earl, I don't know if you're aware, but that actually had an impact on the Affordable Housing Trust. Their submission to us this year is for $600,000, in part because of your presentation. I think in large part because of your presentation. So they've asked for, that's probably twice what they normally would have asked for, roughly. So you're being covered. I know being covered doesn't pay the bills, you need an award, but that's one possible, I'm just, this, I've said this to you privately, but I'll say it publicly, that's one possible avenue. Is that we, sort of just have you deal directly with the Affordable Housing Trust. Using CPA fund, they would be using CPA funds, obviously, to fund the project, but anyways, we can, obviously, this committee can decide
And
and
I hope that's,
deliberate about that.
I'm sorry, yeah, and I hope that's the case with the Affordable Housing Trust. I would suspect at some point they would have other applications for funding and, Milton Housing Authority won't be their only task and so at the very least. Milton Housing Authority needs to be on people's minds.
Yep.
And
You're doing a great job of
and we're
making
here
sure
for that, but I don't think we've ever appeared at town meeting just to say, hey, we're here, by the way.
Yeah.
Feel free to visit us at 65 Miller Ave. But I do believe it's important. I do believe it's important from a funding stream. This is like, I don't know where we'll be in the fall, when these decisions are made, when perhaps awards are happening in the spring. I don't know where the housing, Affordable Housing Trust will be. And I do want to bring my due diligence to the state and say,
Yeah.
we're working hard out there, trying to turn things around in a larger way for the housing, so.
Earl, great job and thank you. Any other questions? We just want to stay on time here. We're late, but on time late. So thanks, Earl. All right, Lisa. Come on up.
Hey there, he's fine.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself and
Lisa Ahern, Milton Cemetery Superintendent. We've submitted an eligibility application for funds to stabilize the receiving tomb at the cemetery. We received
something
funds.
we have talked about in the past, right? Didn't we fund a small?
You
Yeah, we
funded
funded, yeah.
the money for the structural report.
Yes,
So the structural assessment was going to cost about $12,000 and you granted us that money for that report last time. So we've had the report done, they've come back, they've given us their assessment. And are you able to project this report up there at all? Any pages from this report?
maybe.
Because I did not bring copies for everybody. There are some photos that maybe we'd wanna go to, and I can read through the report.
Yeah, why don't you start and then let me see if I can pull it up.
So Structures North from Salem, who are a comprehensive, historical engineering firm, came down and did several assessments and wrote up this report. We are experiencing a little bit of water damage inside here. Not a whole lot. We could be in much worse shape. But they're not able to bring it up. There are three. Does everybody know this structure that I'm talking about at the cemetery? It's in the middle of the cemetery. It looks like a little chapel or a mausoleum. It's like a little igloo under the ground, and there are three chambers. And they were fitted out with what at one time looked like macabre bunk beds. And you would put caskets in that shelving. And so when you walk into the structure, there's a chamber to the right, a chamber to the left, and a chamber directly ahead. And the supports for the shelving that used to hold the caskets supported the slate panels in the ceiling. And at some point, possibly in the 70s, I think, somebody went in there and removed the shelving. And so now that compromises the strength and of the support in the middle. These big slate panels on the inside on the ceiling are being held up by big iron hooks. Some of them are failing, they need to be replaced. So we're asking for 220,000, which is what Structures North estimates we might need to uncover the entire structure, pull back all the earth off the back of it, put a new waterproof membrane over it and seal it up, and go inside and do the structural support that needs to be done to stabilize the structure. Then, there you go,
Fine.
there you go.
Yep.
Then we can talk about repurposing this building into a really attractive income generating feature for the cemetery and keeping its historical value. So we would like to turn this currently unusable feature. Now, nobody ever needs to use this feature. Modern day funeral homes take care of this. There's no time of year where you can't be buried. So building is sort of obsolete, although really charming and interesting. So it's nothing we want to see. So we would like to repurpose it eventually for cremations. There could be a number of
Storage of.
yeah, so there could be a number of granite units inside. Just like going into a bank vault.
Same.
And if it was lit on the inside, families could have a pass key. Or we could open it in the morning when we opened up the cemetery, leave it open, people could go and visit their people, we'd close it at night before we left the cemetery. So it can be sort of, I don't wanna say private because we are a public cemetery. But it can be a very attractive place to house cremains. And a lot of them, it's a pretty big space. So the structural report, he goes through, there's a leak in the ceiling, in one of them causing a stalactite to form. So I was pretty surprised to see that, and it's tiny,
Yes.
but it's there, it's tiny. So we wanna catch that before that gets worse. Water leaking from the hooks on the top of the stone ceiling. Coming in
Sure,
through there.
slide, but,
Let's see. Let's go to photo 7. Photo 7. Photo 7, condensation inside at the vaulted entry. They saw water at the backside of the entrance chamber. And they didn't see this amount of water on any other brick areas in the tomb. And they're thinking maybe it's due to the grout. The type of grout is different here. So they pointed that out. Let's see.
So 220,000 would be used for just uncovering.
For uncovering and membraning and supporting from the inside. So if you go to the very last page of this report. It's on the back of the picture, actually, sorry.
the spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet here, the large amounts are for excavating and backfilling. Installing bituminous membrane. Drainage. Adding steel pins to support those stone slabs, removing the rusted hooks. And then repointing all the exterior stonework. Which needs to be done. And then there are related design fees. So,
So 220,000 to arrest the
decay,
decay.
yeah. Yeah,
But it wouldn't still be an income producing property at that point.
not at that point, so that's where. Cemetery fund, so then it would become a stable. Structure for us to put future interments, so we could rely on. Burial rights. Which would let us
So,
develop
yeah,
that
fund
burial
the- so
space.
remainder, yeah.
Right,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, like what the gentleman before me was saying is that, you know, our capital improvements. They always go to equipment needs. And we get very few capital, we get one capital improvement a year. This year we got a new Bobcat. So we've got trucks and things that need to be replaced. This would
Are you
never,
funding your own capital improvements or is that part of the town
be
too?
part of the town.
Part of the town's
Yeah.
capital improvement?
Yeah.
Yeah, budget.
So, you know,
Yeah.
this would never fly past capital improvement for a town budget. You know, we've had a level budget for 3 years. Yeah, so.
When you take, sorry.
Questions? No?
Yeah,
Please.
take off the top part of it, all the landscaping, do you anticipate? Re-putting landscaping on top of it?
Yes.
I mean, it's so attractive as it is with the landscaping. on it.
Yes, so there is, they pointed out that there's some. Greenery growing over the top, the front facade, some
The
ivy.
first picture.
There's a picture of the excavation we did.
No.
So on the front, on either side of the main entrance, you can see some ivy dripping over. They're recommending we remove that small portion. Yeah, we'd have to remove all that landscaping to cover the tomb, but it can go right back. It's mostly filled with a small amount of shrubbery and lawn up top.
There's no grapes up there.
There are graves up in back, but they're not forward over the area of the actual tomb. Right. Yeah, it's, you know how I love to give tours, so, I would love
Gives a good tour.
any of you to come by anytime, and I will run you through it. It's really,
I've been there, it's fascinating.
You've been inside.
I have been.
Yeah. it's a neat.
It's
look.
fascinating.
Usually when Anthony Sammarco comes by to give a walking tour, we meet here and then I open
Mhm.
the crypt. A lot of people think it's a private mausoleum.
Right.
And cemetery does not have any private mausoleums at all, which is great because they eventually cost the cemeteries money to maintain when the family dies off and there's nobody left to maintain them. So it's sort of the story with this, where this building needs to be maintained now, and thankfully it's the only one we have. So,
What, just another clarification, in the back of the cemetery, there's where the new rock wall was done, isn't that for?
so those are columbariums, and that is similar to what would be in here. It would be small squares.
Right,
That you take the front off,
Right.
put your cremains in, and then personalize the front panel. Right,
so
so,
just be an addition. to
so
what
it would
we've
be,
got.
it would look a lot like, safety deposit box
Yeah.
on, in a bank.
And
So
then,
what you, are those full in the back?
They're not,
Uh-huh.
they're not,
We still have room for,
yeah. This would be a premium spot, you know,
I was
this,
just-
this
I
would
was
be,
Trying to figure out how to ask that question. You could get more for this.
that's right,
yeah.
it's a better neighborhood.
This is, yeah, this is a better part of the neighborhood. It's not back of house.
yeah,
High rank district.
It has a water view.
you need a key.
Yeah, right.
And with the stabilization of this building and development of what to do inside, then we could develop the outside. So outside there's a small rotary that we really don't need anymore. We, you know, we can bypass that rotary thing and we can create an area to have memorial services. We can create some seating and an attractive little plaza outside this. So that people can rent it for a memorial service. It could possibly have some kind of cover, a vaulted covering. That would be really attractive. This building was built by OT Rogers from Quincy. They did the granite work for Mount Auburn Cemetery's entrance
In what year?
in 1879.
And any work that you're proposing here would, take into account your future, plans for this building, meaning that anything you're putting in now for the 220,000
Mhm.
would need to be removed or gone back and done additional work to be able to have it turn into what you're
Right.
describing.
Right, no, it's to stabilize it and help us move
Right.
forward, yeah.
Because if you don't do what the
It-
building's
because-
gonna collapse.
Yeah.
Right, because if we don't, we'll just get more water.
Damage, yep.
Who knows when, there's a picture here of a lintel of a granite.
Yeah.
So lintel photo 12 that's cracked.
I guess a better way to ask, my question, the $220,000 represents all the work that needs to be done to get to the point where you think you could then take the next phase.
Yeah.
And turn into the next
Yes,
iteration of this building.
yeah. Yeah, then we could start talking about the design.
Yeah.
Of whatever goes in there, once it's stable.
Right.
Yeah.
How long would
Right.
this all take?
Interminably long. I think we could probably get this portion done. In, depending on,
Yeah, that's what
and
I
fun,
meant, just the
this
stabilization.
portion. So Structures North would recommend firms that would be qualified to do this. We would certainly have to take bids and bid it out and take the lowest bidder. I would imagine it would take a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have the benefit of, we have excavators, so we sort of did our own, we worked with Structures North and we used our backhoe and our guys to do that little sample excavation up top, which was a lot bigger than I was expecting. But we did it, and it was interesting to see what was under there. The membrane that's covering the structure right now looked to me a lot like old crinkled cellophane. Yeah, so,
All right, Lisa, thank you very much.
thank you,
This is
Thanks.
great.
and I invite you to call on me anytime and I will
Yeah, we may do that.
take you in.
All right,
you.
moving forward, Ed. Welcome.
I emailed you a couple slides.
Oh, okay. I
Can you
I
show
did
them?
not see that, but I.
No, it was just not.
Okay.
I borrowed my friend's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Just one slide or one PowerPoint?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, can you introduce yourself?
So,
Yeah,
why don't you start and I'll get it. I do have it, so I'll put it up here.
great. My name is Ed Thomas. I live at 10 Eager Road here in Milton, right off Randolph Avenue. And I'm just here as a resident tonight with a proposal to present to you all. And if you can get it up on the screen, that would be helpful, because I'll start from there. Or Tom, I can also.
No, I have it. I'm sorry.
Just show it to everybody.
It's not.
No. Groundbreaking of a presentation, but it'll be helpful. The visual always helps, right?
Here we go.
Okay, perfect. So my proposal is really just a request for a feasibility study for a small playground. To
be added in this sort of circled area that is shown on this map. Basically, I live actually where that, I meant to remove the mark, but that, where that little blue house is, and this is my own Google Maps, program. But, that's my house, and we've lived there for about 5 years. I have a 5-year-old daughter. And we spend our life, and I think a lot of the other friends and neighbors in the area that with young kids do as well, and getting in our cars and driving up Randolph Avenue to go to one of the playgrounds, to either go to Shields or the playground at Glover or Mary C. Lane or over at Cunningham. There is really a dearth of play areas in our area. We do go to Houghton sometimes too. So what I'm looking to do, I know that there's a real lack likely of town-owned land in that area. But I'd really love to take a serious look at, if there are any parcels available in this vicinity. And one of the big reasons actually is since Randolph is down to 2 lanes and is a lot safer in my opinion, and a lot more friendly to pedestrians and bicyclists as well. I think the area that I live in, which is sort of right behind Eagle Farms, across the street from Eagle Farms, has become a lot more walkable. It's become a lot more sort of vibrant in a lot of ways. People are walking to Eagle, people are even crossing the road to go over to Newcomb Farms. Of the 200 or so houses on our side of the road, and then probably another 200 over on Highland, there's a lot more, as I say, foot traffic. And I think a playground would go a huge way to sort of bringing the neighborhood a bit more together, to really sort of knitting the community together, to having a central place. Right now, in our neighborhood, which is like Ridgewood, Sassamon, Hampton, Eager, Harborview, there's really not like a central location for people to meet up. Tons of people are out walking, tons of people are out with their dogs, kids are riding their bikes all over the place. There's no location though that people can meet up at, and so, text your friend and say, I'm gonna bring my kid over to this playground, meet me there. And I think that's really missing from this area. And I think unlike so many of the areas that are well served by the playgrounds to the north of the town and the area around Houghton's, I don't think that, I think we're poorly served. I think it's a big ask, and to be honest, I didn't even include a budget because I don't really know what a feasibility study would cost, and I can do a little bit more work on that as necessary.
This is the eligibility phase, so that's fine. We encourage that type of.
Right, you can give me a mulligan there. Yeah. And that's something I can keep looking into. I'm not sure that there's gonna be an easy answer. It's not a big ask in terms of the budget. I think we're looking at something in like if I had to guess, like 10, 15, 25,000 for a feasibility study, but I think I'm not sure would be an easy answer, because of the lack of, as I can tell, public owned land, town owned land in that area. But I'd love to explore options of, maybe talking to some of the bigger landowners in the area and some of the businesses. Or even, I know so little about sort of how the Blue Hills is held and the state holds it. But a lot of our neighborhood abuts into the Blue Hills, and is there an opportunity to talk with, the state about using a very tiny piece of that for some sort of a playground? So I think it's worth looking into. The friends and neighbors that I talk to, they're all kind of are, I think there's a general sense that, it would be wonderful to have a playground. I know a big playing field, that is not what we're talking about here. I don't think that would fly. I can't see anywhere, any land that would lend itself to that, but I think a small pocket kind of playground that's walkable to a lot of people in this community, potentially on both sides of Randolph, would be an amazing addition to the area. And I think would honestly help. In some small way lower traffic and just fewer trips of people having to leave their house to go up to other parts of town for these kinds of amenities. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Great idea. Questions? So it sounds like you've done a little bit of looking at, and there's no public parcel the town-owned parcel that.
From what I can tell, I think I called the planning department at one point. They weren't aware of anything.
Yeah.
But I think it's, that's why I want to kind of
Yep.
Some
Take a
support for
look.
this, because I wanna confirm that that's the case.
Mhm.
Between, the Parks Department's effort with the master plan that they're putting together.
Yeah,
And the planning board working with the open space and recreation plan. I'm wondering if. Right, because a lot of people looking at the same kind of things.
Yeah.
Which would be able to advise or at least influence,
Yes.
maybe saying that. This parcel of land in this area is town owned and maybe that can kickstart kind of the conversations that you're having.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But you know, I think that, that information coupled with the potential for a feasibility study is something that. Great.
Yeah, I did take a quick look at some of the master plan, the recreation master plan documents. I didn't see anything kind of that spoke to this. But I completely agree. I wasn't really quite sure how to like, where to start with a proposal like this, because I know it's sort of. It's like a Venn diagram, it covers a lot of stuff because of town government.
Rob Lavash, who is the Parks representative to our committee, is not here tonight.
Yeah.
But he would be a good, because he has, been the force behind the master planning.
Yeah.
Effort, for the Parks and Open Space.
Yeah,
So, he'd be a good initial conversation
Absolutely.
to have too.
Yeah. yeah,
So,
I mean, the town, every once in a while, you find the town does own a little piece of property here and there.
yeah,
right,
I'm not aware of anything in that area, although
Mhm.
there's so much land there.
there is.
They tend not to be small pieces that the town may have ended up with. It's,
I know, I know,
the biggest landowner in the area was Copeland.
right.
I mean, all I can think of as you're talking is that big field.
I know, that's exactly, I drive past it every day, I'm like, how great would that be, if just a corner of that was a playground, I completely, that is, I've had my eye on
A
that,
piece of,
I know.
yeah, that is the obvious.
It is the obvious answer, yeah, and creating like, and there's also, there's a safe crosswalk with the light, just a little bit further up from there, that you could get people crossing back and forth really safely.
Yep.
So I agree, I've thought about that a lot, but that's a hard one.
Does your neighborhood have any kind of, either formal or informal, neighborhood group?
We do a bit, yeah, we call ourselves I think the Chickatawga Hill Association right now, though it seems to change a lot. Sometimes it's Scottswood, but that's across the street. So there, yes, and we have a block party every year, and there's a group of really involved and committed people, absolutely. So that would be, something to kind of, there's no formal kind of, leadership of any kind, right? There are regular meetings on any kind of regular cadence or anything, but yeah, the votes definitely exist. And there's a lot of very engaged families. Actually, and I had heard someone who has lived in the area for a really long time said that they think when the neighborhood was being planned out in the 50s and 60s, that they were going to reserve a couple of the lots that eventually became single family homes for a park.
It makes
It
sense, it makes
would've
sense,
made-
because there's a lot of homes up there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
there's 200 homes just on that side of Randolph. And unfortunately, I guess it just wasn't, they didn't do that, so, but I think that's a real shame, because I think that really could have been a huge benefit to that area.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for bringing this forward, and,
Yeah.
we will be.
Can I ask you a question? Do you need sort of to move forward at all? Do you need a budget number? Like, would it be worth?
I mean, it's always helpful to have a budget number. It's not, I don't know how we'd answer that. At the eligibility phase, it's not, in my personal opinion, it's not 100% needed.
Mhm.
It's good that you put some rough, parameters around it.
Yeah.
Because what we're deciding at this stage is, are these projects eligible? Right, we can't tell somebody who's eligible not to go forward.
Sure.
That's up to them.
Yeah.
But so this is clearly an eligible, again, my opinion.
Yeah.
And this is clearly an eligible project in terms of meeting the goals of CPA.
Great.
So,
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
all right, Gwen. I'm trying to get back on track, but we're still 12 minutes, 12 minutes late.
That's so bad.
Hi, I'm Gwen Labby. I'm Vice President of the Milton Historical Society. And I am here tonight to talk about our Suffolk's Resolve House Window Restoration Project. Figuring you're probably familiar with the building, the Suffolk's Resolve House at 1370 Canton Ave. The headquarters of our historical society. The building was originally located in Lower Mills on Adams Street and built respectively around 1760s, 1780s. The home of Daniel Bose, who was a prominent entrepreneur and militiaman, and was the location of where the Suffolk's Resolves were written. And then delivered to the Continental Congress in 1774 and helped write our Declaration of Independence. So I'm sure you're all familiar with this history, but I thought I'd give it
No,
to you
it's
very briefly.
Helpful, because you're speaking to a broader audience.
Okay, yes, I wasn't sure how in depth. I
Potentially,
should
at
go.
least. I don't know how many hits we get on our,
Yeah.
our Zoom,
For prime time.
right.
So I did email you a slide presentation. If you want to share some of the images, you're more than welcome to. So I am here to talk about the windows that are in poor condition on the house and that we're looking to have restored. So our window restoration company that we're working with is Historic Window and Door. And they're telling us that some of the window sash, so they're telling us that the window sashes of varying ages and having been installed at different times in the 19th and 20th century. And it's possible that some of the used sash were installed when the house was moved in 1950. And to make them look old. So while the house was moved 75 years ago, some of the sash may actually be older, so they're in terrible condition at this point. So some of the window sash can be restored and others are so deteriorated that they must be built new but fitted with historic glass. The restorable sash are removed from the house, glass is removed, paint stripped, repairs made as needed, and the glass would then be reinstalled. The sash that can be restored, they're proposing replaced with new sash constructed out of South American mahogany wood with the historic glass restored, and the new windows will all look alike. So there are a total of 28 windows in the house. And the estimate from our historic window and door holdings company to restore or replace all the windows is $115,000. We've begun phase 1 of this project with the replacement of 7 windows in the worst condition. And we're hoping that they will be installed this summer. At the cost of $28,000. Which it will be paid from funds in hand. We're asking for a grant of $70,000 to allow us to continue to finish this project, with the remaining difference then being raised privately. If this project is funded, the restoration project would be completed by 2027. So we've already begun. He just was here 2 weeks ago and removed 2 of the windows
This guy?
from the house. Yes, yeah. I know, you gotta get them while you can, I think, right, this type of work.
Yeah.
So the Milton Historical Society, you know, we're an all-volunteer organization founded in 1904. We own and maintain the Suffolk's Resolve House and an extensive collection of artifacts, photographs and other ephemera, both at the house and at the archives in the Milton Public Library. We're self-supported by dues and the generosity of its members with gifts and donations, as well as income from a modest endowment. The house is open to the public on specific Sundays throughout the year. We host other individual groups by appointment, and we're also visited each year by our public 5th graders on their Milton History Tour, which kicks off tomorrow. We have our first one, which is exciting to continue that tradition. There are other events that we sponsor by the society periodically at the house and at other locations. Our grounds are open to the public from dawn to dusk. And we are fortunate enough to have enough money to support ourselves going forward. But with an annual budget of just $25,000 a year, it's impossible to self-finance a project of this magnitude. So that's why we're asking. Yeah.
Any questions? from
Any
the committee?
questions or?
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
submitting the eligibility.
Just for
Yeah,
clarification, what is historic glass? How do you define that?
Yeah, what is so?
It
Let me
is
go
glass
there
which
here.
is made to look wavy like old glass.
Uh-huh.
So it's not, you're not just gonna be able to reuse the glass, you're gonna replace the glass with historic modern glass.
In the new windows.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's what.
It
you
is
meant.
glass
Yeah.
made to look
Yeah,
old.
gotcha.
The
Right.
restored windows will retain the glass they have,
Oh, okay,
unless it's cracked or
Right,
broken, in
right.
which case it'd be.
Right, so it's more of like a visual,
yeah.
just to look
It's like a
historic.
throne or something.
Right, right.
And is there a R factor on those, or I mean, how does that?
They're all single,
They're all
right?
variable, single thing.
Yeah, it'll be single,
They're all small.
but with built-in weather stripping
Yeah.
and all that.
Mine.
The historic window and door holdings guy. You look at the window, it'll tell you, oh, that was 1870s, 1880s. I can tell from the glass. This glass over here was early 1900s. I can, okay. And just as an aside, the restored windows, to restore a window costs about $1,000 more than building a new window.
Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah.
he feels it's important to restore what you can restore, as do we.
Yeah.
And,
Are they anticipated to be operable?
They're fixed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I
they,
mean, whether
they're
they.
double hung.
close.
they're double hung.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
The cool weights in the wall.
You hold them up with a stick.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, house I lived in was built in 1829.
Mhm.
And my sash in most of the house I held up with a stick.
Hmm.
Various tight sticks, and
Mhm.
we just never changed the windows.
Hmm.
And the other thing that's interesting is a quick aside. We have interior storm windows in the Suffolk Resorts house, because now the outside looks the way it always looked.
Yeah.
But now we've been told that interior storm windows help to deteriorate the windows of the house,
The moisture
because
in
it
there.
creates
Yeah.
a mini climate
Yeah.
between the sash and the interior storms.
Mhm.
Well, we always used to take the storms off in the summer. But when we air conditioned the house
Mhm.
10 or 15 years ago, we left the interior storms on.
Mm.
And that is helped to contribute to the deterioration of the windows. As they said, museums love interior storms.
Mm.
But some of these sash are very,
Right.
they're old. Well, we just had the housing authority here with 40-year-old windows.
Right.
Oh, they need to be replaced. Well, the newer windows in this house, if anything, are 75 years old,
Right.
and they'll go back past that.
Right.
Yeah,
Other questions for Gwen?
Questions? I know
No.
you guys are so familiar with our project, yeah.
it's-
I know in our
it's great.
building. We have an open house this Sunday as well, if
Mhm.
anybody is around, they're more than welcome to come by between 2 and 4.
One to three.
I'm sorry, 1 to 3. Thank you, Steve. Still kind of get us
If
there.
you come at
2 and 4.
3, you can stay.
Yeah. But we will have an open house, the second Sunday of each month this, summer. So if you'd like to come by and visit, you're more than welcome to,
Absolutely.
take a look at them. Yeah, see our work in progress.
That's great.
Yes,
Thank you for the
Yeah.
invitation.
Yeah.
And thank you for the application.
thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
And thank you for hosting this great tour.
Oh. I love it.
Lovely memory.
Yeah, oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah, I'll be doing the last 2, and then our other helper, Dave Cordish is helping with the first 2, so. he's got nice weather, so I'm excited for them to kick off tomorrow.
And Joe, welcome. Joe Kane is joining us, previously funded project, at the Houghton's on, refreshment stand. That we've had some discussion about, and Joe, I know you've had a lot of conversations with, people in town and trying to, sort of, resolve this issue of what can we fund and what can we, and, you know, the work you've done. So you want to just give us a quick update on
Yeah, sure,
where you are?
sure. So,
This is not a new application, and it was a, what year did we fund you? Last year or 2 years? 2 years?
I
No,
think last year.
last year.
It was like
It was just last
sign
year.
agreement.
So it was to historic improvements to the stand, the refreshment stand there, which is a WPA project, was it? Did we determine that? That was, I thought.
I don't know what the acronym is.
So, Works Progress Administration coming out of the Roosevelt administration.
I don't, yeah.
I'm not sure. I kind of,
I think Tom just made that up.
I could have just made that up.
Right. I don't remember.
But Joe, why don't you introduce yourself,
Sure.
especially for our new members and, you know.
Yeah, I'm Joe Kane. Thank you, Tom. I operate, Rise and Thrive Refreshments, which out of the Houghton's Pond concession stand, we're starting our third season. There, and we have a 5-year permit that we'd like to hopefully continue with DCR, for as long as we can.
Can you just give us a quick background on Rise and Thrive
Sure.
Refreshments, because it's not your usual.
Yeah, I'm a high school, a high school teacher in Boston Public Schools at a small alternative school. We serve students who are at least a year, usually a little more behind, credit wise for graduation and typically older. So 17 to 21 years old, and there are sort of two things happening with the pavilion. As a Milton resident, I would go there a lot with my kids and wonder why is this, in such disrepair, and where's the ice cream? And then as a teacher, the summers for our students are pretty challenging in the city. And for my group in particular, they often, you would have like tons of support during the school year, social worker, a trusted adult in the building, you have a consistent people there, and then it's like June 24th to like see in September. And that, to be honest, just made me really anxious. Like I was probably just solving my own problem of being overly anxious in the summer of what was happening to the kids. So I was kind of trying, we could create a program and solve both problems. And it's been really successful. And there's a lot of different measures you could probably talk about, like attendance and participation or, but for me, it's really just seeing the students in a different outside the classroom and learning a lot about things that are really important. And a lot of them, it's their first job or like their first job in the real job come. And then a lot of them, it's their second current job. Do you know what I mean? So it's really neat to see the different levels of engagement with the students, and just the space itself. What's been like most surprising is one, how much, well, I guess it's not surprising, but the community loves it. Everybody loves visiting, they love the students, the students love the people. And there's a lot of interactions and opportunity that don't normally, take place, at least with the way that I witness them. So an example would be like over the weekend, a young woman who's, I think a recent college grad, McKinsey consultant, stops by and has a 15-minute conversation with a student about how can I help with marketing. She's going to volunteer, work with the students over the summer. People don't walk into my school building. It doesn't happen like that, so it's really kind of neat. And then just I can talk forever about this, so I feel bad because it's late and I
just wanted to give you a sense of.
Yeah, there's a million different stories. The other big part though is like just accessing the Blue Hills. So what we do, like the biggest thing that we do as a nonprofit is provide transportation for students. There's a bus now, they've advocated for that, so that's actually helpful. A couple students took it yesterday. So yesterday, Sunday? Yeah,
Yes.
so they took it yesterday, when they left work, which was cool. And, but aside from that, like getting them out to the Blue Hills is eye-opening for them and a great experience. And they realize that they have this wonderful resource in their backyard. And that it's more accessible than maybe they thought, that it was. So, it's pretty cool. They come and hang out when they're not working or their friends come visit them, that kind of thing. So, that's the background. Sorry to talk to them.
So we funded you
Yeah.
and the town hasn't paid you
Right.
because the town is concerned that some of the work that Joe is invoiced for might not be consistent with the initial application. Is that the fair
Yes.
high level summary?
Right,
But
but
yeah.
like I would summarize like, well, one, we were awarded a $60,000 grant, which was awesome. The original application, and not to say I didn't know what I was doing, but I think we were asking for more. We were trying to do mainly like structural and exterior repairs. It was really just trying to get, how do we make this safe and payment from the outside? Do you know what I mean? And when we started, like what we learned basically is like the partner with Youth Build, which we were gonna use, they have a program. They were kind of like, this isn't really in our wheelhouse, like it's not as much learning as we think we could do, or the learning is like. The structural stuff is like taking these pillars off and like. Making them look the exact same way. They're like, that's not really what we're trying to do with our students. They suggested reaching out to North Bennett Street School. And North Bennett Street School is like, well, we're like booked for like 5 years from now, like the way we do these projects, and it's probably not. Complicated enough for that, do you know what I mean? Like, that's.
You have too simple of a project.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like the youth bill was like, this isn't really our niche, and the other one was like, this is too easy, plus, you know, it would be a ways away. So I just started focusing on like, okay, well, how do we meet these goals, like the goals of the project? And since I'm there every day, talk to a lot of people from DCR, and they come through, and you happen to be there, or the engineering department is around, or this people are here, and they take a look at the building, and they talk to you, and you just kind of explain over and over again what we're trying to do. We were fortunate enough last year to have, honestly, I'm not sure quite who, but somebody advocated for us after speaking with them, and I think it went through the engineering department to fix the structure. So last summer, they took off every single pillar. They like cut off the bottom, I don't know how they did it, like the pictures, but, and then replaced them and, painted a lot of the exterior.
DCR.
DCR, yeah, and then they also replaced the slate roof, so there's a slate roof. And they completely replaced it, and the other sort of flat commercial roofs, they replaced those as well, which were, leaking like consistently into the building. So then, in addition to that, part of our project was got us the downspouts. You know, I gave them the list, so I shared the project with them and with the goals. They really stepped up, so they did all the gutters, all the downspouts. And yeah, I mean, they were friendly and great. It was disruptive, you know what I mean, like in terms of they try to do things when we were open, or you know, it was during the week, so thankfully we were able to be okay on the weekends. But yeah, it was a lot. It's kind of a lot. Not that I was doing the work, but it's a lot. And it was awesome. It turned out amazing. Like, it looks incredible. And certainly it would be way more expensive than we had ever planned or budgeted for. But when all those sort of goals were accomplished, it was like, okay, well, maybe we could use these funds to help. Well, one, they didn't, the painting isn't finished. I think the reason for that is they really did, it would have been super disruptive, because it was like the underside of the interior. Like, people wouldn't have been able to order. We'd have to close for like a week in the middle of the summer, which for us would be tough. So I think that's why those parts weren't necessarily finished, but that's one thing that we'd like to finish. Painting the exterior, and then sort of solving the problems on the interior that make it challenging. So there's in order to open, we had to, and we've spent through community fundraising and just like, I guess revenue, like what we've generated ourselves in sales, is we've spent money on both electrical and plumbing work. Replacing the ceiling, that had been falling apart, we kind of have to replace the half of it again because the roof was still leaking. Replacing the lights, that was really dangerous, we had to install a new grease trap or interceptor. And when we did some of that work, like, you know, we had to cut, the plumber had to cut a hole in the wall, that kind of thing, where the windows and the sort of, I don't know what part of the building was leaking, but it would like leak down the walls, so that sort of plaster stuff needs to be. I guess it doesn't need to be, you can still function, but it would be nice if it wasn't falling apart. On the interior, and then, so yeah, the interior walls, ceiling tiles still kind of need to be replaced. The plumbing part would be super helpful, so, we'd like to add, three really important things. One are, floor drains and like a floor drainage system. It's really hard to clean there, like it's really hard. Just the way the floor is, it's like a VCT tile floor. When you get it wet, it takes, I think because it's humid, and it's like takes a really long time to dry. And like fans and stuff work, but there's cords. Anyways, with the system, like a floor system, with the drains, you can mop it and then squeegee everything down into the drain, and then it just goes. Then the other thing would be a floor sink, so we have equipment like, now we purchased a soda fountain, we'd like to install a sour soap machine that would be like water cooled. We'd like to install a thing for our ice cream scoops that like, I mean, these are operational stuff, but basically the water that runs through it to keep it like either clean or the equipment functioning needs to go somewhere, and the current drains, I tried, but like, I don't know how they ever worked, but like. And I'm not a plumber, but I was like, well, gravity says that like, I don't think the water can go up, you know, from where we are, so. That plumbing stuff, the floor sink, the two drains, and then a few just water lines to different areas would be helpful. And then, we have a, semi-portable hand washing sink. We already have one hand washing sink, like we're okay with the code, but it's nice to have another one closer to the food because people wash families more often than they don't have to go far with it, which you, as a Kabata customer, I appreciate. And then a new floor, so like I talked about the floor being damaged, but if we, it's damaged, it's old, it's dirty. It can't, I don't think I can get it any cleaner, it's just like, I don't know when it was installed, but it will never look clean in its current condition, no matter what you do. And so we'd like to put like an epoxy non-slip, and very thin. And then electrical stuff is really just trying to modernize it. At some point, they changed, somebody who was in there changed sort of how, what I've learned, like some of these higher amperage things were disconnected, and then they sort of rerouted things in a way that doesn't necessarily make sense for the way it might have made sense for the way that they were running it. But right now, like on a consistent basis. And I don't know what the magic thing is, but like, you know, a breaker trips like almost every time. And I've tried every outlet and extended cords to everything, and it's not, to me, it's, I don't know, like if I'm saying in public, if the fire department came down, they'd be like, you can't get it down, this isn't okay. So that's the other piece, and all of it, so I'm going too long, and you guys are here late, so I apologize, but. Basically exterior painting and the interior restoration, plumbing improvements, floor improvements, electrical upgrades. And we generally, like with the estimates that I got, all of those put us just below $60,000.
So I think the dilemma has been, I don't know if the feedback has been consistent with this, but right, we funded this, Jenny, if you, I don't know if you have
The documents are not there.
I can't access
No,
my.
me
So I believe we funded it as a historic preservation project.
Right.
So that's one of the issues is a lot of these things probably don't qualify under the historic preservation rubric. Some of them I mean, I'm not in historic preservation, I think some of them might, but not, things like some of the plumbing stuff and the floor drains and the floor sink.
Right.
Not sure, we can make that case, and that's probably why the treasurer or the accountant department is giving you a hard time about that. Do you want, have you talked to Nick Milano too about it, or?
I just over email, I mean,
Over
the real thing is like, it's not the structure
Right,
of the building.
the building,
And my sort of understanding of it was that if you're improving the function of the building, you're making this historic piece of property usable for the public.
right,
Whereas like if, it's kind of like if none of the windows opened. You know, I mean, like you'd have to find a way
Right.
to get that to function.
right, we just talked about the windows Yeah, I think we need some sort of, Kathleen O'Donnell is a member of our committee, who's not here tonight, is also happens to be an attorney and experienced with CPA, so one of the things our committee definitely turns to her a lot to get her advice on what's been done in other towns, certainly, and what may, pass the historic preservation test, to your point.
Right.
Yeah, so, did you have a question?
No.
It seems, I mean, I know I'm new to this and my opinion doesn't necessarily matter, but it seems to me like if you're wanting to, we're wanting to save and rehabilitate historic buildings, you have to be able to allow for reuses that were not originally intended.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they didn't think about floor
drains.
floor drains for ice cream scoops. It was built, when Tom said it was built in the 1930s for the WPA, right? Like,
Right.
and again, I know this doesn't necessarily matter for the funding, but it seems to me like this, if we want to encourage historic preservation and reuse.
Well, that's why I invited Joe in, because I want to find a way that, whether we can fund everything or not, I want to find a way, I mean, this is a great project, you've already improved the building and the look of it tremendously, and frankly, you taking initiative has gotten VCR,
Oh, yeah.
you kicked them in the butt a little bit,
It's
And,
just sort of.
that's been tremendous, right? That already that in-kind work that we've gotten out of DCR has been, so I'd like to figure out a creative way to at least partially fund this, if not fully fund it.
And as much as I'd like to be in there forever, sorry, but if I can't, right, like. I think now somebody else would walk in and say, how we can open, you know what I mean?
Another vendor.
Right,
Yeah.
if you don't have somebody in there, like, that's the reason,
Right.
DCR has been an awesome partner
Yeah.
after our second year in.
Yeah.
But they weren't gonna fix.
But I remember talking to you before you applied, and
Right.
DCR wasn't always.
No, because they're like, no one's there, we don't even know who it is,
Yeah,
what are you talking about? Once you meet everybody and then they come down, they see you and you're in there, it's
Yeah.
like. They really do want to. Build people in the park especially, so. it's like-
Exactly.
that's
And
been really
did you
cool.
say at the front, you have a 5-year lease with them, or?
Yeah, we're in year 3.
Yeah.
So,
You're in year 3 now. This will be your 3rd summer.
yeah, and we hope to extend it, I'd like to finish this work and make a strong case.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
why we would be eligible for sort of a long-term agreement.
So from a process point of view, I mean,
Yeah.
basically it's a redirection of the fund, right? So the question is, whose responsibility to approve that? Is it?
Right, I mean,
How far does it have to go? Back to us?
yeah, that's where I'd like to get Kathleen's opinion on that, I mean, right, the worst case scenario would be pulling it all back and having a new application and going to town meeting
Right,
again
right.
and with just a different scope. I don't think personally that is necessary, that I think, there may be certain no-goes that we cannot fund, based on the initial application. But I would like to see if we could get Kathleen and Nick and, I don't think it's the accounting department, it's Amy Dexter's department, or you don't know, okay, but whatever. It's either the treasurer or, or the accountant, that has weighed in on this basically. And said, we can't pay this invoice, basically, so get a bunch of people in a room and, maybe with Joe and just kind of go through it and
Right.
see.
Right.
See what,
I guess it would be helpful, do we have, Joe, from you, a list, a budget of what you either estimated or what you've spent on electrical and plumbing
I can provide like what I've spent and then I have estimates.
for what you want to spend? That would be helpful.
yeah, if you could send that to us, that'd be great. And-
I seem to remember that your initial application was under two buckets, historic and recreation.
Yes, sorry, I can,
I don't have it in front of me, so
So,
that may be.
there were like a few parts that were like community oriented.
Yeah,
Like activating the story walk, doing like community games and like period style furniture and then a mobile cart.
yeah,
And that, in the initial, like when I went to sign the agreement, it was like, well, anything that's not attached to the building is like not part of this, like historic preservation. Like anything that you use would have to be like improving the real estate, the actual structure of the building itself, so like a mobile cart. You know, that was part of my application, was part of that roof thing. Now, I did find another grant, we already get a mobile cart, so.
but as far as the administration end of things goes, I'm wondering if, since their initial application was more broad, and I believe that is what was approved by town meeting, correct? It wasn't then refined until afterwards, when we.
I have to, yeah, it's a good point, Wendy, I don't know. I thought what town meeting improved was exclusively in the historic preservation budget, not the open space budget.
Mm,
Cause it was really only three, right, it's not affordable housing, obviously.
right.
So it'd really just be open space or historic preservation, it's clearly historic preservation, but,
Right,
um.
we're looking for points where there might be some flexibility for
Right.
us to
Yeah,
make this work,
I appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, the only thing I can pull up is the grant agreement, so.
And the grant agreement is after town meeting, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I
because
would
the town meeting
certainly
vote
take-
is not so specific. I think it's really what's in the grant agreements and, town meeting, appropriates money or approves money for. The buckets, basically.
Yeah.
60,000 for Rise and Thrive and there might be a one sentence description in the Warren article, but the grant agreement is obviously a little more
Right,
detailed about that, so. I think what I would propose is just what I said, get Amy Dexter, Kathleen, anybody else from the committee that wanted to participate, in with Joe and just try to get a meeting on the calendar in the next couple weeks and see if we can. See if we could be a meeting on the lines of what's fundable and what might not be. And if you could give us that budget.
Yeah, for sure.
Both what you've already funded and what you hope to fund.
Okay,
That would be helpful.
perfect. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming in and thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Come by, it's nice cream.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great.
All right, so that's the last thing on the agenda. Do I hear suggestions so we're meeting in 2 weeks. I did get, so the 22 applicants, I put an email out there to all 22 on mid last week. Well over half of them I've heard from, so I have a spreadsheet with priority dates, so we basically have people lined up for next week, or for 2 weeks from now, and for July. A few people just couldn't do it until July sixth, so, so there's a couple of people I haven't heard from, so I will keep on them and try to, you know, pin those, down, the ones that we haven't heard from. Nick, as I mentioned earlier, Nick is coming in to represent several of the projects. Let's see, my spreadsheet here has this.
So just from a timing point of view, so we did 6 tonight,
Did we do 6? Okay.
plus short.
Yeah, so Joe doesn't really count, go towards the shears. So, yeah, so, you know, we have several town-sponsored projects, if you will. Tom McCarthy Consolidated Facilities on the Brooks Field LED lighting project. Then we have, Nick is kind of representing the Atherton Street Fire Station, application. Nick is also part of the Monuments and Historic Markers Restoration application, as well as he wants to weigh in on the Tucker application as well, so I think. Oh, and the Milton lockup, so Nick represents at least 3 other additional projects, so once we get him scheduled, that will knock off a bunch of folks. And I have dates for Steve Novak, Milton American Baseball is coming in July 6th. Kevin Chrism is coming in June 22nd. We have John Kiernan from the Milton Conservation Commission coming in on June 22nd. Geo Field, Rob Lavash, Kevin Chrism on June 22nd. We'll go to Circle, June 22nd. Some of these could come in either date, so anyways, so there's 1, 2, 3.
Just think about timing, yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7. So we've heard from 2/3. So 7 people I haven't heard from, and 15 people we've heard from. So it's just, yeah. I think it's shaping up reasonably well. We have a little bit of room in the June 22nd meeting and probably a little more room for the July 6th meeting. But there's my spreadsheet with preferred dates. I asked people to give me multiple dates if they could, and a number of people were able to do that, so.
So if you could put that on the documents, I don't know how.
I can't put anything on the documents, and Nick has to do it, yeah.
That's so laborious.
But I can send this around, I can send.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did send the spreadsheet.
Send around, but I don't know if we get the additions.
I did,
Updated.
Yeah.
Because you send it.
It's a document that just looks like this, which is a spreadsheet, a simple spreadsheet of the amount of money people have asked for, and then this last column is what dates they said they were available for.
Okay, when do you have the Olmsted survey? Nothing that matters, I'll be here, but.
The Olmsted survey, I have it either June 22nd or July 6th, so we haven't.
That's fine.
We haven't, but yeah.
One comment I'll make, you mentioned, one of Nick's proposals is the lockup.
Yeah.
And I know there's already been a couple of comments. What are we talking about the lockup for when we haven't started what we gave them before?
Yeah.
I did get an email from Tom McCarthy this morning forwarding an email from the contractor saying he will start the week of June 19th, which is Friday. So I'm not sure how that works. And he figured it would take him a week to do the windows.
A week?
A week.
That's it?
Yeah.
Nothing happens in a week.
It's a very small. Yes.
I'm repeating what was in the email.
Okay, well, that's progress.
I got tired of asking Tom. The bids were opened on October 8th. We're now June 19th, before anything's gonna happen. A long time ago, I said to Tom, since this is taking so long, how about putting out an RFP for the masonry? Oh, I was just thinking that. I mean, I can't blame people for being frustrated, but, you know. And Tom is up to here between two jobs and a lot going on in town, and I get that, I'm not trying to beat him up.
Yeah.
But, and Tom isn't the one that writes the RFP.
Right.
And I don't know who writes the RFP.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was submitted by Nick.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got some, you know.
Yeah, no,
We've got some tough decisions this year. I think.
well, I get it, and he's
Not gonna
trying
be
to,
able to fund everything.
he's trying to plan ahead too, which I get. But the initial money was gonna go for windows, masonry, and determining what needs to be done with the roof. So that's already there. So,
Well, we get to ask Nick all about it. When he comes. before-
And also ask him about the deadline for the fall time.
Yes, we.
Yeah.
I will be talking to him this week to try to schedule those interviews. Jenny, I'll coordinate with you and motion to adjourn.
second,
Second, all in favor, Jenny,
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
Stephen,
yes.
Robert? Yes, that's a yes. And Tom, yes.
We see you, Rob.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll be back here on June 26th.
The 22nd.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.